Hey everybody, welcome back to Crypt Finder. I'm so happy you could join me as we continue this sort of spine-tingling series all about some of the creepier made-for-TV movies that you might have missed. And I have one for you tonight. It is a tense, psychological sort of thriller. It's all about guilt and family secrets and mental illness. From September 22nd, 1970. It is the ABC made-for-TV movie, How Awful About Allan. This is directed by Curtis Harrington from a script by Henry Farrell, which is based on his novel of the same name. Farrell, incidentally, also wrote the novel Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which, of course, became a rather classic film starring Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. This film centers on Allan Colley. He's played by Anthony Perkins. He's a troubled man plagued by guilt and mental anguish after a tragic accident leaves his father dead and his sister severely scarred. After a quick intro where we see Allan almost paralyzed with fear in the doorway while his father cries for help in a burning bedroom, his sister Catherine, who's played by Julie Harris, rushes in to try and save their father, but ultimately they all have to just be dragged out by firefighters, and Catherine's one side of her face is horribly burned, and it's at this point that Allan suddenly realizes he cannot see. The story then picks up with Allan being released 8 months later from a psychiatric hospital where he spent a lot of time just recovering from the psychological breakdown that rendered him psychosomatically blind. Allan's hysterical blindness, caused by overwhelming guilt, has no physical cause, but it is rooted in his belief that he was responsible for the fire that killed his father and injured his sister Catherine. Returning home to live with Catherine, Allan really struggles to adjust to life outside of the hospital. He's haunted by memories of the fire and also the feeling that Catherine might resent him for what happened. Catherine, who bears the physical scars of the fire, she insists she harbors no ill will toward her brother, but her behavior suggests otherwise. She is overly protective, almost smothering Allan with kindness that feels tinged with an underlying resentment. Allan's psychological torment intensifies as he begins to hear strange noises, and he also feels like that there is the presence of someone or something in the house. Having only blurry, partial sight that has returned, Allan's paranoia grows as he becomes convinced someone is trying to drive him insane. His fears deepen when he encounters moments of missing time and unexplained occurrences around the house. As Allan's grip on reality weakens, his suspicions are further fueled by the appearance of a mysterious boarder renting a room in the Colley home. This young man seems to have a hidden agenda, complicating the already strained atmosphere in the house. And Allan's ex, Olive, who lives down the block, keeps popping in unexpectedly. This film builds to a climactic revelation where Allan discovers the truth behind the mysterious happenings and the real cause of his blindness. There's no spoilers here, of course, but it's a defense mechanism against confronting the reality of what happened the night of the fire. How Awful About Allan is sort of a cozy little made-for-TV thriller. It really layers on the suspense, and also the sort of confining atmosphere of the house is a real pressure cooker for all of the escalating tensions. The film's psychological depth is really enhanced by Anthony Perkins' portrayal of Allan, drawing parallels to his iconic role in Psycho. The filmmaker's choice to actually show so much of the movie from Allan's POV as sort of a hazy, blurry kind of light and shadow actually intensifies the film quite a bit because we are literally seeing the world through his eyes. This is used to great effect with only hushed whispers in the background and an occasional shadowy figure glimpsed that leaves you wondering who is stalking Allan. For anyone out there who has ever experienced a night terror that came with sleep paralysis, you will know that very often in those situations between waking and sleeping, people often report seeing sort of dark, shadowy figures in the room and feeling a sense that you are being threatened. And if that's ever happened to you, this movie may be slightly triggering in a way because Alan's eyesight is just this hazy glimpsing of different shadows, which really adds to the movie's eeriness. What's on the screen right now is an example of what you would see through Alan's POV. It's hazy, and then suddenly, when there is movement that you can't identify, it's very unnerving for us as an audience because of how unnerving it is for the character because of his condition. Anthony Perkins brings his signature intensity and complexity to the role of Alan Colley. He just seemed to be able to delve into the psyche of a troubled character. And Julie Harris, she's probably going to be really well remembered for horror fans because of her turn as the very fragile Eleanor in Robert Wise's classic 1963 film, The Haunting. But she was a celebrated stage and screen actress. She had 5 Tony Awards. She was also in East of Eden with James Dean. And she gave a great performance in another made-for-TV movie that I covered on another episode. It was called Home for the Holidays. She plays Alan's sister, Catherine, and she delivers a very nuanced performance here. Her slowly unraveling psyche hides deep emotional scars, and her chemistry with Perkins is totally believable as a tension-filled sibling relationship that really drives a lot of this film's story. Joan Hackett is also in the film, playing a previous love interest of Alan's named Olive. The only problem here, unfortunately, she's just not in the movie enough. But when she is on screen, she brings the same kind of slightly wounded persona that you will find in another fantastic turn that she did, another made-for-TV thriller that I covered from 1974 called Reflections of Murder. And I also just have to add here, she is absolutely compelling in Bobby. That is the best installment of Dan Curtis's anthology film from 1977 called Dead of Night. The film was produced by Aaron Spelling. He's a legendary television producer. He would go on to create some of the most iconic TV shows of the 70s and 80s, including Charlie's Angels and Dynasty. This film was shot on a low budget. That was very typical of made-for-TV movies at the time, but this limitation actually forced the filmmakers into crafting a sort of intense claustrophobic atmosphere within the house. The confined setting amplifies Alan's psychological torment. He can't escape being inside his own head because he can't see the rest of the world around him. The film's emphasis on psychological horror rather than the physical scares, that were sort of a hallmark of the genre during the period. This instead appeals to viewers' intellect and emotion rather than relying on overt shock value. The slow unraveling of the mystery, combined with the atmosphere and unsettling character dynamics, that's what makes this film a memorable entry in the made-for-TV movie genre. So there you have it. How awful about Allan, a sort of haunting relic from the 1970s that just quietly faded into the shadows of pop culture. With its very eerie atmosphere, psychological twist, and a performance that again reminds us how versatile Anthony Perkins truly was, it deserves a little bit more than a footnote in horror history. It's really a reminder that sometimes the eeriest stories are not the ones that are just drenched in blood, but the ones that whisper softly, insistently, from behind closed doors and fragile minds. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Until next time, stay curious and stay scared.